welcome back. This is another episode of Creators Inspire series. This is season 2, episode 1. I am so grateful to be back. I hope you're doing very well. I am excited to start a new season away from 2020 into 2021, and I look forward to talking to all different collaborators, creators from all different genres. Hi, Jamaican Beauty. How are you? So I am so glad to be back and starting this series. I have a very wonderful guest today. And before I begin, let me introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Terry Shaw, and I'm the host of Creators Inspire series. And Creators Inspire series is about different creators who are in different genres who come on the show to talk about their business, talk about what they're doing, and it's a way for them to reach out to different people so that they can promote their business and also to inspire others. It's all about inspiration and unity and everyone coming together. So our guest today is Stephanie C. White. She's an event coordinator and also the managing director and lead coordinator for her business. Well, she's on the live right now. Hi, Stephanie. I'll let you in a sec. Um, she also started the blog, The Savvy Event Guru, in 2019. Her website is called thesavvyeventguru.com. You can visit there and read the blog about the different events that she's done, weddings, you name it. And she's also a motivational speaker and author for her book A Thousand Miles in My Shoe. Is released in 2018 and it's available on Amazon and her website stephaniecwhite.com. So I'm going to welcome Stephanie. Before I do that, I just want to make some quick announcements. So Creators Inspire series, as for those of you who've seen the flyer, will be here every second and third Sundays of every month. So I have so many different projects going on, and I can only do this series only twice a month. So I'm happy to extend it, but as long as my time allows. And I also want to introduce a new series called The Way of the Goddess series, which is every fourth Sundays. The Way of the Goddess series is about how we can use the energy of ourselves to expand and to start moving forward in an energy of flow. And I'll be teaching you, giving different tools about how to do that because I had to incorporate that in my own life. And I also want to note that The Power of ABCs is available on Amazon.com. Thank you very much. It has 30 plus reviews so far, and I'm so grateful. I'm seeing reviews from Australia, from the UK, from Germany, and I'm absolutely grateful. So if you haven't purchased your copy, go ahead and get a copy of The Power of ABCs. You won't regret reading this book. There's so many knowledge, so much wisdom in this book as well. And let's bring on Stephanie. Enough with that announcement. I'm looking forward to speaking with her.
Good morning,
Hi.
Steve.
How are you? You look so beautiful.
Thank you. So do you. I love the look. You look amazing. Thank you so much. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year. Oh, thank God. Happy New Year.
Yes, 2020 was an interesting year.
It was. It's a lot of growth, I must say. A
Yes.
lot of growth. And, I tried not to reflect on 2020 because I just kind of went with the flow of whatever happened. And I just, I don't know. It was an interesting year, as you said.
Yes, very interesting. And I'm glad to be in a new year.
Yes, absolutely. And good things have happened in 2020, not just the bad things, but good things have happened in 2020, and I'm grateful for that.
Exactly.
The fact that we're still alive is the most important thing here, and we thank God for that.
Exactly.
So
You're right.
thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
joining. It's 10 a.m.
Yes,
Usually
thank you so much for having
it's
me.
okay, no problem. It's two. Usually I have this at 2 p.m., but I'm just truly, thankful that you are still able to make the live for today.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward for having you start off the episode 1 of season 2. Hey, hey, hey.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
No problem. So I just want, I was kind of giving a brief introduction about yourself, but I want you in your own words tell everyone about yourself and your business and how did you get into everything that you're doing right now? Because you're into different things, blogging, event coordinating, writing books, speaking. Please tell us.
Okay, all right. So what I'll do is start with going into more detail about the different, not the businesses that I do. Just kind of piggybacking off of the introduction that you did.
Uh-huh.
I am the owner of Stephanie White Events. I've been doing event planning. It'll be 15 years and this August, actually. So from doing the event planning, I'm one of those people, I like to do different things. I get bored and I'm like, okay, all right, so what can I do, or what can I add, or what can I expand on? What can I do to make this more interesting for me? So what I started doing with the event planning is I started putting on my own shows. So then I was like, all right, I'm one of those people, I'll try something. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, at least I tried it. So that's kind of how I typically look at things. I said, just try it once, whatever. So then I, through the event planning and everything, I thought that it would be good for me to start being sponsors of other people's shows. That was a way of me getting my name out there. Also networking and working with other people who do similar things than I do. So that actually kind of got me into doing fashion shows. After I started doing my own fashion shows, I started being sponsors for other people's fashion shows. So that's the event planning piece. Then, of course, in 2018, I came out with my memoir, A Thousand Miles in My Shoes, which is a story about my life. And it spans over 30 years. And so I said, all right, I have this story, you got to put it out there. And it was the sense of urgency to get it out. So I started writing it in 2017. So I was determined to get it out. So with that, of course, I started, building platforms where I speak to young adults, kids as well. And prior to that, I worked at my church where I worked with the Christian debutantes. So that was a platform for me to actually mentor and speak to the young girls and, et cetera. And then working with other shelters, it allowed me the same platform to motivate people as well. And I like to write, so then I think, something was like, I don't know how I came about doing the event blog. So I was like, an event planner with an event blog. So I started traveling to different areas and I was like, you know what, I can do this writing thing. Let me just kind of put myself out there. Because what I was doing at the time prior to starting the blog, I was writing inserts and stories for fashion magazine, or another magazine reached out to me, was like, hey, can you write a column for us or whatever? So then I said, what, I could start my own actual blog. So then the wheels started turning. I was like, what would I call this blog? So that's when I came up with the name, The Savvy Event Guru. And when I do my blogs, I actually do my blogs on, I like to say, real stories about real people and events. So it kind of started with doing, like, I'm going to different shows. I went to New York Fashion Week in 2019 and I wrote a couple of stories on 2 shows I did there. And so being a blogger is pretty much being media, for being one of the type of media outlets for the events. So when you go to like shows, you have your magazines, you have your newspapers, and you have your bloggers. And they are the media people. So I'll get like a media pass to go in and write stories about these events. I write, my stories, of course, include information about the producer, what they worked on, what they're currently working on, etc. So then that's where my stories about the people come in, because then I start doing stories or writing blog stories about the actual producer. So it's going to be very, it's been very exciting, because for some, I get odd reason or whatever, it's God.
Absolutely.
I get the opportunity to write stories or to get into these shows because I'm one of those people. I'm like, well, let's just go to the person who's doing it. Go find a producer. Let's talk to them. And so actually, just to kind of add I have an interview today with a celebrity hairstylist.
Nice.
And I am, so, it's later on this afternoon. And so I'm like, okay, all right. So I scheduled them and, that time. And I met this person at DC Fashion Week in February of last year. So that's
very nice.
One of my interviews that I have today, and I'm writing a story on for the first of the year. And, it's just been one of those things where it's like, Stephanie, God gives me these ideas, or he plants stuff in my spirit. And I'm like, let's try this. I know it seems like sometimes I feel like to other people, it looks like it's all over the place, but in the grand scheme of things, they all connect in some way.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, the blog, the book, and the business, they all coincide with one another. Yeah. And it's
that's really, really good. Oh my gosh, I am very impressed.
Thank you.
I for those of you who don't know, Stephanie and I met at Independent Authors Book Experience back in 2019. This was my very first time when I just published my book, and that was my very first book fair that I have ever sold at. And this is where I met Stephanie. I also met Yasmin, who was also on the show last season. And the three of us connected. It was really a fun time. We had our boots across from each other, and I can tell you, Stephanie has a really bubbly personality. And I said, you know what? As soon as I get everybody else, I have to get Stephanie on the show, because there's just something about her. And as you said, everything is always connected, because God always connects you with different people, and you will know when that time is, and you will know when you need to connect with that person. So, thank you very much. Wow, you have so much going on. Now, with event planning, what got you into event planning initially? Because it was always like something, a passion within you, or it's like sometimes, with certain people, something happened that said, oh, I could probably do this, versus like, this is a passion that I've had from my childhood and I always wanted to do it.
Well, to tell you the truth, what got me into event planning, it was one of those things where I didn't even know I had a passion for it. It was, I had just graduated from college and I had just moved to a new area and I hadn't found a job yet. So I started working at this catering company, and I was a bridal hostess. And I remember it was in the summer and it was a bunch of weddings. And as a bridal hostess, it was my job to cater to the bride and groom. I would set up their receptions. I would set up their ceremony. I would get their personals, from wherever I needed to. And then that whole night I catered to them. I served their food. I served their bridal party, etc. I made sure all their stuff was done at the end. And through the process, I started picking up all these different vendors, different contacts. And I noticed that I enjoyed catering to people and taking care of them on their wedding day. And it was just exciting to me. And it was one of those recognitions where I was like, oh my gosh, these people that are here at their wedding have known these people for years, all their lives. And I get to only meet them for one day. And it's like, some of their personalities were like amazing in a sense where it was like, wow, I really enjoyed working with them. And through the process of meeting all the different brides and grooms, and when I tell you, it was a very diverse type of setting, because I've done different Asian weddings, I've done the Nigerian weddings, I've done American weddings, I've done the Italian weddings. I've, it was just, and everybody was really nice, sweet, and kind. And it was one of those things where I was like, I can do this full time. And then my wheels started turning. And that's when I realized that I have a passion for doing event planning. And granted, I was working at a catering company, I still picked up a lot of different skill sets to bring to my own business. And then the summer of 2006, August, actually 11th, I did my first event, and it was my aunt's wedding. And oh my gosh, I didn't know hardly what I was doing. All I knew was everything needed to be done. And I did
Yes.
everything. I was exhausted, and you learn after your first event. And at that point, I said, you know what? I can do this as a business.
Yes, yes.
And I was 23.
Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
To realize that, this something that you were doing because you didn't have you didn't have a job because you just graduated. I find that a lot of people just graduate, they're looking to go right into the industry and didn't realize that they have a passion like within them until something triggers that, and that catering experience triggered that for you to start your own business and grow from there. And hint, hint, I might be calling someone up for my
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I saw your post. Yes. I'm so low. Call
So
me up.
I'm glad to know that you do weddings as well, because I was like, oh, that's so interesting. She does.
Yes, I started with weddings, and then I started
That's
branching
great.
into other events. So,
That's really nice. Now, tell me, now switching from event to your book,
yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about your book.
sure.
And it's a memoir, and I myself am also an author, and I know what it's like to write. But, tell me what got you started in writing your. You gave a little bit about how you got started in the
Mhm.
beginning, 30 plus years, and you wanted to get it in there and help other people. But was there a turning point that got you to actually write this book that you feel like someone needs to hear your story? Can you share a little bit about how you got into writing that book?
Yes. So, I have an aunt who is a writer as well, and she's published a book. And so she was
Mhm,
very instrumental in me
mhm,
writing my book. And one thing
mhm.
she said to me was just get a journal, and everything you remember, write it down. It doesn't
Ah,
have to be in any type of order, but just
yeah.
write it down. And I just started thinking about my experience and
Mhm,
just how several experiences in my life kind of go into several different, you know, areas in a sense where someone reading my book can kind of learn from someone who's been awarded a state,
mhm,
someone who was in foster care, someone
mhm,
who lost their mother, someone who lost their oldest sister. Father was at the time dealing with substance abuse, couldn't deal with the real life situations that were happening.
mhm,
Someone who was raised by their aunt, and someone
mhm,
who just had an issue with self-esteem.
mhm.
And it's kind of hard growing up in a world like that, trying to feel good about yourself when you have all these negativities in your life hitting you at
Yeah.
once. And so I I never thought that I'd write a book. It was one of those things where I just thought that I would be a motivational speaker. And it's
Mhm,
that the motivational speaker piece came first. It wasn't until I got serious about it, and I can't pinpoint one thing that was like, let's write this book. It was just a matter of timing, and like, I feel like it's time to do this. And I knew that I didn't want the experience of me writing this book to be done the traditional way, because I didn't have that kind of time, because not only do I have a business, I also work a full-time job.
yes.
So it's like I wanted the process to be easier for me to write this book. So
Mhm.
it was one of those things where I felt like a sense of urgency that this story needs to be told. This story is going to help people. So let's see how we can get this done, and let's work on it. And so, um, yeah, I did that book in 7 months. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. That's really awesome.
thank you.
And thank you for saying 7 months, because it really takes a little while to write a book.
Mhm.
From my own experience, there is no quick 33 months or
No.
90 days writing a book, especially when you're writing your own story.
Yeah.
It takes time, and also realizing that while you were going through the process, this is a question for you. Did you
Mhm.
feel like it was healing in a sense, because writing always heals? Did you find yourself ever crying? Because I know when I was writing my own book, I got really emotional. I had to go back to some chapters, and I had to turn back, and I was crying. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can put this in the book.
Oh my God.
But how did that help you in a sense? Because I would love to hear your point of view.
Well, it was definitely therapeutic. There were times
Mhm,
when I was writing my story, that it was hard for me to write certain chapters or write certain pieces of chapters, and I would stop and I would cry, and I would call like my aunties, my mother's sisters, and they would help me through that particular piece of the book. And it was hard, and it was very therapeutic, and I did get through it. And but it was definitely hard. It wasn't an easy task, but it was like, I gotta keep moving, come on, let's get this done. And then I would have moments where I would get a little lazy, but I'm like, no, come on, let's get this done. We got to get this done. We got to get it out. But yes, to answer your question, it was very healing, therapeutic, but also there was moments in times where it hurt too.
Yes. And that's good because, the fact, and that's where, you've written a good book because you have the emotion, transferred from yourself into that book, and it might touch the life of someone else. I'm sure one word, one single sentence can actually, inspire others. I went through that, this is how she got through that. And, they can relate to it. And this is, thank you for doing us the pleasure of writing that book because, and I was also, so thank you for saying with your book, do you have a digital copy of it? I was looking for a digital copy to purchase. Is there a digital copy available?
I am actually working on the digital copy.
Okay.
Right now, they're all hard copies of the book.
Okay.
But
because I was trying to get one, and it didn't arrive in time. I did get it. It didn't arrive in time like I thought because of the delays.
Oh.
But her book, Stephanie's book, is called Thousand Miles in Her Shoes, in My Shoes, actually. And you can definitely get it on Amazon. This paperback version is there. For those of you who are international, I do have international people who are here. That's why I asked for the digital copy because maybe it would be faster for them to download as well.
Yes, so that's something we are working on.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Thank
you. I have one more question for you before we go. Yeah. So tell us, where 2020 has been such a year, and I think this is a question I'm gonna ask everyone that comes on the show moving forward. How has that transformed you moving forward? Because everyone went through some level of transformation. And how has 2020 transformed your mindset moving forward differently from what you've already known? Like, do you feel like you've elevated in a sense in your own self? Or do you feel like, the energies of 2020 is still lingering into 2021? What have you taken from it, basically?
Okay, so 2021 was a crazy year, and during that year, after March, because that's when everything really started shutting down, that's when I myself started working remotely from home, and it was a time where I was able to do more at my home, or I was able to transform my home in a sense where when I go to work, I'm gone for 12 hours every day. And so when I come home, I'm only there long enough to eat dinner, take a shower, and go to bed. So with me working remotely, I've had a chance to actually enjoy my home.
That's
Be
good.
At home, work on stuff, look at my book, encourage others that are writing their book, like, get that book out there. You got a story to tell. Like, I've met my neighbors. I actually have a relationship with my neighbors now. And it's been one of those things where I've gotten projects done. I've been able to finish spaces that I haven't been able to do because I only had the weekend. And the weekend was for running errands. And so 2020 taught me to be still. And I feel that a lot of different things were birthed out of 2020 for me. I started my own podcast. I did a holiday favorite series for 11 days. And once again, the Holy Spirit was like, and I'm like, I was working on something else. Like, you downloading information while I'm working on this? And so it's actually birthed a lot of different things for me. And I've been able to really enjoy my space. And I don't feel that the energy from 2020 is lingering into 2021 because it's crazy because we're only like, was it day 10 of 2021. And I feel like there's so many different, like, moves that are happening within my business, within, that are taking me to other levels.
Okay.
And so it's I don't know, it just kind of, I hope I answered that question correctly, but I feel
No,
like
you did perfect. And the reason why I threw that question out there is because, one of the thing of being a creator who inspires is that no matter what's going on, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And you can take whatever is happening in the world and transform it into something good. You started a podcast. You had the ability, you had the opportunity to meet your neighbors, which is something that most of us don't. We don't even know our neighbors, right? And we live next door to them. It's a high and by in our city. You can't even have a long conversation.
No.
And I throw this question out there because I want other people to see that no matter what happened to you in 2020 or to someone close to you, a lot of us have lost people, and we've seen what happened in the world. And the racial uprising, the election, everything. We constantly focus on the negative, but everything, as Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, you have the opportunity to take what's happening outside and transform it inside and use it to build your own life. And that's the reason why I posed that question, because I know you already did that. I just want the world to know that you did that. So I want everyone to know that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just keep trying to find ways to stay high vibe and stay in love. Stay in love with what you're doing and stay in love with the people around you. And that's key and important. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing that. You were such a joy to talk to today.
Oh,
and a great start for episode 1 of season 2. I appreciate you. So please tell everyone, where they can find your book, how they can reach you if they need an event, if they're planning to get married. I already know about where to reach you. So please share with everyone your details. I'm going to also drop it in the comments section.
Okay. All right. So I'm start with the book. So my book can be purchased, as you mentioned, on Amazon, and my book can be purchased on my website, which is stephaniecwhite.com. And I always, there's a subtitle to it too. It's 1,000 Miles in My Shoes: One Woman's Journey from a Shattered Life to an Authentic Self-Discovery. And so that book, I am going to be working on the digital copy as well. And that book can be purchased at those 2 places. And they can, of course, be purchased directly from me as well. And that's for the book. You can reach me on Facebook at author Stephanie C. White. I am on Instagram as Stephanie C. White. And then, of course, for my event planning, I have the website, stephaniewhiteevents.com. I'm on Instagram, Stephanie White Events, under Stephanie White Events, Savvy Event Guru, my blog website, savvyeventguru.com. I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, so please check it out, the Savvy Event Guru. I upload videos, etc., for shows that I do or shows that I attend. And I also have my 2020 holiday series on there as well, 11 episodes. So it's you can also email me directly if you have any questions. If it's event planning, it's admin@stephaniewhiteevents.com. If it's things related to the books or any type of events, it's bookings@stephaniecwhite.com. And let's see, there's a lot. Yeah.
And if you miss any of that, this recording is good. Everything is being recorded, and we're gonna post it on Instagram. It's also gonna be on the YouTube on my YouTube channel, Terry Shaw Inspires. We're starting off season 2. So, and I'll also share this with Stephanie as well, so she can share it on her page as well. So
I will.
Thank you, Stephanie, for
thank you.
Yes, and good luck in your interview later on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm excited, a little nervous, but I'm like, all right, let's go, girl.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Bye. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in. It was such an honor to speak to Stephanie. She is a Jane of all trades. doing so many different things and keeping a bubbly personality while doing it. It's just so awesome. Thank you for joining in. Some of you are just joining in right now. This is already recorded. It will be posted on my Instagram and also on my YouTube channel, Terry Shaw Inspires. And stay tuned next week. We'll be speaking with Heather Chauncey. I hope I say her last name correctly. She's Soul Path Energy Healing, and she'll be teaching us how to use the emotion code to transform your inner world and your outer world. I've done it, and I tell you, it's life altering. And we'll welcome Heather next week on the show. So thank you so much, and have a lovely day. Be safe and stay high vibe in love. Mwah.